I've been playing the Mega Man games since I was 7. It is one of my favorite video game series and is super important to me. But after browsing the internet, I've been surprised by the lack of content Mega Man has on the web regarding obscure knowledge and fun facts. If you want to find obscure Mario facts, you look at Super Mario Broth. And if you want Sonic facts, you can watch Cyber Shell. But if you want Mega Man facts, you're kinda out of luck. So I've decided I'm going to try and make at least one video to help with this issue. That being said, enjoy the show. Firstly, we're going to talk about some more boring things like glitches and regional differences. Starting with the glitches, the most famous one is probably the pause glitch. You do it by pressing select after firing a weapon, which pauses the game. This will cause the hit stun on the enemy to run out. You can then unpause and get another hit. This is most commonly done using the Thunder Beam against the Yellow Devil, but it can be used in other boss fights if you really feel like it, and why restrict ourselves to the Thunder Beam? This is another pretty famous glitch. The Iceman glitch. In this case, you jump on a specific place in Iceman stage and wiggle the D-pad back and forth. This can do many things like spawn the Yellow Devil, beat the stage and mess up the game's graphics, or just anything. With this being an early NES game, it's full of weird quirks. One bizarre feature is that turbo controllers are almost completely useless in this game, with enemies taking way more shots than they should to die. Another odd behavior is that Mega Man falls unusually fast when a platform disappears beneath him. Take a look. No idea why this happens, but it is useful in some places. If you are more interested in the glitches, I recommend Psycho's Glitch Fest and Mikey Taylor Gaming's Glitch Picnic, both of which are linked in the description, and they go way more into detail on the glitches of Mega Man. Moving on to regional differences, I'll mention the most notable one, Mega Man's name. It is common knowledge that in Japan he is called Rockman. I guess they thought Mega Man sounded cooler than Rockman in the States. Another thing that is different is the box art. While in Japan it's okay and in Europe it's pretty good, the American one is quite terrible. I mean, do I even have to describe it? Another change to the game is that of the title screen, which looks a lot more interesting in Japan, and I don't know why they changed it. Lastly, we have some sound effects that are different in PAL regions. Take a listen. Weird. Okay, now onto the good stuff. Let's start with unused content. In this game, there are a few Dr. Light sprites that show him in different positions, which suggests that some cutscenes may have been cut from the game. Here's a scrapped enemy. No idea what it would have been like. Next is probably the most interesting. It's a door that was originally going to go on Dr. Light's lab at the end of the game. Game changing. Lastly, we see the Super Cutter, but with a body made of rings. This is actually in the concept art for the game. Speaking of which, this stuff is quite interesting. We also have this one, which appears to be an Okosun Tobon from Mega Man 9. And hey, this one might be that scrapped enemy from earlier. We also have an early form of the Flame Pillars, which looks quite weird. And this guy, who I think might be a Springer from Mega Man 2. Look at this, we have an early design for Fireman with this cool fire armor. And this Bomb Man concept art that was good enough to get a sketch out on graph paper. And hey look, early Electman. Dr. Light looking like Elmer Fudd is funny too. Lastly, we have these early Wily ideas. Speaking of Wily, there's some interesting stuff going on with the stages in this game. We may have some junk data that could be an unused Wily level, or it could just be junk data. Similar thing in the first Wily stage. After the last room, a duplicate of Cutman's stage antechamber is there, and then a loop of the stage from earlier. This isn't the only weirdness involving level architecture, as the copy robot has code to let him deal with unique terrain, but since his boss chamber is flat, it goes unused. Going off on a little story tangent, apparently the game was going to have a much simpler story, like Super Mario Bros. At one point. In an interview, it is said that in the original story, Wily kidnapped Roll, and the final boss would be a giant roll robot, which would have been hilarious. This isn't the only thing that changed from the concept idea. A big one was Mega Man's name, and I'm not talking about the Japanese name. The names Knuckle Kid, Battle Kid, Rainbow Battle Kid, Rainbow Warrior Battle Kid, and Rainbow Warrior Miracle Kid were all considered before the game's launch. The whole rainbow naming thing was so prevalent even after the name Rockman was chosen, they still thought about calling the game the Battle Rainbow Rockman, as seen in this pre-release Famitsu article. If you're wondering about the whole rainbow thing, it comes from the fact Mega Man changes colors when he uses special weapons. The last thing I have here today is probably one of the most interesting things of all, and it's Bondman, who was a scrapped robot master for the game, as they planned to have 8, but size limitations meant they could only fit 6, and they had already made 7. Just like the other robot masters in the game, Bondman was a reprogrammed robot. Originally, he was specifically made to do work with industrial adhesive, and his weapon would freeze people in place. When scrapped, his weapon power was pawned off to Iceman, and Bondman was enshrined in Mega Man mythos as the robot master who almost was. But in 2006, a remake of the first game was made for the PSP called Mega Man Powered Up. This game finally added 2 bosses into it, boosting it to have 8 robot masters just like every other game in the series. And surely Bondman would come back as one of them. He didn't. Instead we got Jotaro and Mr. Popo. Thanks a lot, Capcom. Well, that's it for this time. Thanks for watching to the end. If you enjoyed, consider subscribing and leave a like. If not, then our path ends here. Bye.